I don't know how to stand it up. Technologically challenged. We're chatting about our letters. Travis has handed me our letters tonight. Here we go. What's the first one? Our Treasurer, Scott Morrison, is of the notion that it's okay to sell away our best lands to foreign interests. Is it okay? What do you mean you don't know? Come on. Who wants to have their land sold from underneath them? Frankly, I don't know whether to laugh or cry. The man I've been married to for more than 2 decades, who's a wonderful, loving husband and a terrific dad, now wants to come home and wear my clothes. Someone we know?
Maybe.
Can someone please tell me when it was exactly that we became such an intolerant society? We've become a nation of what?
Sooks.
Sooks. How dare you write us that letter? Don't go away. Terrific panel coming up right now, and all the letters in full discussion. Don't go away. Sweet and sour. See you soon. Got a problem, big or small, would a miracle be nice? Our motley crew is back, churning out advice. You might even laugh a bit in the following half hour. Park your backside on the couch, 'cause baby it's time for Sweet and Sour. Right here on Sweet and Sour.
Pour some sugar on there, baby.
It's time for Sweet and Sour.
How's about some chili?
It's time for Sweet and Sour. Good evening, everyone. Welcome to Sweet and Sour. We're just in a happy mood tonight, aren't we? Gary Mitchell with you for the next 30 fun-filled minutes, and a terrific lot in tonight to address your letters. First up, my mate Slim Jim is here. Hello, sir.
Good to see you, Gaz.
You've been where, at the Regal?
At the Regal doing Greece for the last
How was that?
few weeks. It was a wonderful experience. Wonderful experience. The show was fantastic and it seemed to be received really well. And
Are you the same as everybody else? The show comes to an end and you want to do another month worth?
I was actually asking that about, within the first couple of days of it starting. It was that much fun,
They
seriously.
are sensational.
And the guest actors that came from over east were sensational to deal with as well.
Terrific.
But right at the moment, we're sort of in the throes of getting Telethon organised.
Telethon's coming. Do you remember Telethon, my sister? Hello, Stacey Polaris, my sister. How are you?
I'm great. How are you?
We grew up watching television, Telethon. We were only down the road from Channel 7.
Yes, we used to go every year. It was terrific.
And I took Basil Zempoulis up for the very first time to Channel 7 when he was about a 6-year-old kid, holding my hand. And
You're responsible.
Cameron Mitchell, I'm responsible. Cameron Mitchell, it was the year Cameron Mitchell rode in on a white horse. Do you remember Cameron Mitchell from High Chaparral?
Yes.
No, I'm sorry, I don't.
Yeah, he's dead now. He died last year, I think.
Yeah.
Might have been. But hello, Susie Hunt.
Hello.
How are you?
Very well, thank you. Lovely to meet your sister.
Oh, I can't believe that you've not...
never met.
Susie Hunt.
And I might add, my sister's flown in all the way from Adelaide.
Just for the show.
Are we allowed to say who you're meeting tomorrow and why you're here?
I'm here for the Telstra Perth Fashion Festival.
Okay.
On behalf of Cocktail Revolution, which is covering it.
That's awesome.
Very nice. And sitting right over there, hello, Pete Katzenbanis. How are you, mate?
I'm fantastic.
You're
It's
always
brilliant
fantastic.
to be here.
Do you know what amazes me about you? Every time somebody puts you on the spot, it's like an on button and you can talk about anything and everything. And the worst thing about you is, and I'm so jealous, you've always got an abundance of knowledge as well.
I don't know about that. I fill in the
I
time
do.
pretty well. I'll leave it up to others to work out whether I've actually got an abundance of knowledge or not.
You do. You're pretty good. Nice to have you here, mate.
That's fantastic to be here, as I said, mate.
Here we go.
It'll be a good
First
show,
letter.
hey?
Yeah, let's knock them dead. Here we go. 3 letters to go. First one, hi Mitch and panellists. I'm in disbelief. Our Treasurer, Scott Morrison, is of the notion that it's okay to sell away our best lands to foreign interests. He said foreign interests have land holdings only the equivalent of twice the size of Victoria, and the Chinese holding is only 0.5% of our landmass. He must honestly believe we're fools, happily blinded by statistics. And that's how pathetic our press is as well, because they've swallowed it without so much as a forensic blink. Twice the size of Victoria is enormous, especially when you consider 3 issues. Number one, the majority of our Australian landmass is desert, so they're buying a huge chunk of our most productive, arable, food-growing land, and while 0.5% of our landmass in Chinese hands doesn't sound like much, 0.5% is really closer to 5% of our most productive land. Number 2, that was only number 1. Number 2, foreign concerns only buy the best of our lands. They don't want the crap parts. And number 3, at this rate of land sales, every piece of land in Australia will have been sold off to foreign interests within 100 years. Scott Morrison has proved he is just a small vision, dangerous man who hasn't the motivation nor the ability to put in place safeguards for Australian future generations and their rightful inheritance. How do we get this message through? And it comes to us from Graham of Auchenflower in Queensland. Susie, first up.
Well, thank you. Graham, I love it when I get a letter from Sweet and Sour that it's because of its pure racism and actually drives me to find out facts. Really good, so thank you, Graham, for that. I just want to take you through a couple little things. Basically, ScoMo, and I'm really not a fan, has actually blocked the sale of Kidman & Co because of public pressure due to the Chinese consortia wanting to buy it. But the foreign investment that comes into Australia is actually great for Australia. And the Turnbull government prepared a report about foreign ownership because of all this publicity that the Chinese were taking over the world and taking over Australia. And the truth is that the actual ownership of arable land, ownership of good land, has actually decreased since 2013. And only 20% of all land owned by foreign investment is a freehold. So it's actually a very small part. But most importantly for Graham is that the top 4 foreign landholders in Australia are the United Kingdom, the US, the Netherlands and Singapore. China is
Why
5th.
do they even get a Guernsey?
China is 5th on the table, just ahead of the Philippines, with 2.8%.
Chinese, English, Dutch, doesn't make any
But
difference to me.
2.8%.
Peter?
Susie said basically everything I wanted to say. It's
Okay,
going to be
Slim.
a boring show otherwise, but we need foreign investment in this country to help us grow and develop, to create new jobs for Australians. We've welcomed foreign investment in this country for nearly 200 years. We said thank you to the English when they invested. We said thank you to the Americans, the Dutch, the Singaporeans. We should be thanking the Chinese. We should be trying to expand the ORD project and encourage more investment into this country. And the sort of people who write these letters also complain about the loss of our car industry. And I might remind you that our car industry were Ford and Holden. Who are they? They're Americans investing in our country back then. We're no longer producing cars. What we are really, really, really good at is agriculture. And that is part of Australia's future. But for that future to be realised, we need these funds, we welcome them, and we should not be racist about it.
Slim?
Well, I don't want to be racist about it, but I actually don't agree with ownership of large amounts of Australian land. I have no problem with the investment in this country for whatever reason, but I think the return in agriculture, as Peter said, is pretty significant. When you've got a situation where they are so seasonally affected that to have any form of consistency investment is probably a necessity so they can get through the hard times. But I do think though that the actual ownership of large masses of land and also industries in Australia, primary industries specifically, is actually detrimental to our youth's opportunities in the future.
Stace, quick one, because we've got to go.
Quickly, thank you very much to the Chinese people who bought our house, because without you, we wouldn't have got the price that we got. Thank you, if you're watching. On the other hand, I do have an issue with food security. I think that's something that we need to look at in the future.
When we come back, we're going to be talking about a cross-dressing hubby. See you very shortly. Don't go away.
Can't wait.
How long ago was that?
Getting in touch with Sweet and Sour is easy. Just head to sweetandsour.net.au to send us a letter. And while you're there, why not check out our past episodes? Plus, don't forget to like us on Facebook and follow us on Twitter. And for a behind-the-scenes look at Sweet and Sour, check us out on Instagram.
It's terrible. Welcome back to Sweet and Sour. And the movie we're sending every one of our letter writers to this week is The Girl on the Train, which has got some fantastic reviews, and I can't wait to go and see it. So thank you very much, Natalie Cameron of NRC Communications. And letter number 2, dear Sweet and Sour, I frankly don't know whether to laugh or cry. Pack up and move out. I've been married for more than 2 decades to a man who is a great dad and loving husband. Sounds really cliched, I know, but that's how it is. Well, this wonderful man has floored me and his 3 kids because he now wants to come home from work and wear my clothes. It seems the media is leading this ever-expanding new norm. That is, it's okay to cross-dress because now I see it everywhere. I'm just so worried that he'll do a Bruce Jenner and become a full-time female. This is so alien to me and the kids. He's never indicated to any of us before that he's had these tendencies. We've had the best relationship for decades and we've been comfortable to chat about anything, yet I've never had any clue. How can this happen? Have I been deceived? Am I within my rights to take a break and leave for a while just to collect my head together? How do I answer my kids' questions about this because they're so embarrassed to approach their dad about any of this? We've all just been taken completely by surprise, and it comes to us from Marianne of Doncaster, Victoria. And now, Marianne, all your neighbours are looking at you. We're going straight to Peter first.
Marianne, I sympathise with you. I don't have any words of wisdom. When anyone, male or female, enters into a relationship or a marriage, they sort of have a range of things that they contemplate, and I'm sure this was not anything that you contemplated or anyone else did. It's sensitive, it's difficult, your family's going to have to deal with it, but I don't know, I can't give you any guidance. I'm not experienced in this area. You're going to have to go out there and seek some advice from people who've been through it before and some professional help. Your kids, I don't know what age they are. I assume they're either teenagers or young adults. It would be confronting for them as well. But hopefully as a family, you can deal with it and start off from the premise that you start off with and say that your husband's been a great dad and a loving husband. Yeah. Work through from that premise and see where it ends up for you. And seriously, good luck.
Susie, it certainly is a new paradigm that more and more people are going to have to face.
Yes, but I think, you know, there's always been issues. I don't think this is, I think it's just that it's more public now. And I feel sorry for Marianne. I think it must be a bit of a shock. I wonder whether you have had if you really reflect, if you've had any clue at all. I mean, is there ever been any hints? These things don't just suddenly happen. But I would suggest to you, I would say that she's in her 40s or 50s. She would know a lot of men, husbands of friends of hers who've come home and they've said, I'm sorry, I'm leaving you for the 27-year-old secretary, I'm getting a vasectomy reversed, I'm buying a new Porsche, I'm actually a swinger, been a swinger for 20 years. I mean, these are all actual true stories and I'm not lying. Not my true story, I have a different one, but you know, at least he's coming home and he still wants to be with you. I would say have a bit of fun with it. Do some counselling. Maybe it's just a phase he's going through. Maybe it's just a midlife crisis. So good luck.
Stace, do you have a little bit of fun with it?
Just a phase.
Maybe he wants to do it at night. You know, I don't know. Maybe he just wants to share.
He's coming home from work.
No, I've got a different view. Marianne, why so negative? He's a loving husband and father. You've been with him for 20 years. Think a little bit more positively.
Yeah,
think of the fun you can have. You can go shopping together, you know. He'll take a real interest in what you're buying because he wants to know what it's going to look like on him later on. It doesn't have to be anything. It doesn't have to be a big announcement on the front of the page of the Sunday Times. It can just be just an extension of your relationship. So just enjoy it. Life is short and he's a wonderful person. So what he wants to wear, you can live with it.
And a good, solid, happy marriage is worth its weight in gold. Let me tell you from being on the other side.
Oh, all right.
Yeah.
Hopefully they're the same size too, otherwise it might cost too much.
Honey, can I wear your shoes tonight?
Double use of the wardrobe, it's perfect.
Double use. Slim?
Yes, Marianne, I've got to say something to you quite clearly. It's obvious that this is restrained at the house. You're very clearly saying that it's only when he comes home from work and he wears your clothes. He's obviously just trying to release the tension. That pressure valve, the pressure valve returns. The pressure valve release of, you know, putting up with a really hard day at work, and he's unwinding in his own special way. But the thing is, as everybody's identified, for 2 decades he's been a wonderful dad and a loving husband, and that's the key here. Yes, exactly. I don't think he'd be going the full Bruce Jenner route just quietly. I shouldn't have used that word route. Anyway, so the point being is that Marianne, best of luck to you. I do think it's a marriage worth keeping together, and there's nothing really wrong with, you know, sharing your clothes. I don't know about anybody else, but it's nice to cross-dress at parties on occasion, isn't it, guys?
It is,
It's all
of course it
normal
is.
behaviour.
Right, everyone.
I mean,
Every fancy dress that you ever go to, 50% of the men are dressed up as their wives or their
Yeah.
mothers. Amazing. All right, a quick vote. Hands up. All those who think that she should just hang in. Put your right hand up.
Definitely.
hang in for sure.
Any
Make a
dissenting
score,
votes?
you
The
might like it.
whole panel. Hang in. See where it goes. When we come back, we're talking about an intolerance that's growing in Australia. Or is it? We'll see what the panellists have got to say. Don't go away. More of Sweet and Sour coming up right now. I'm going to have my coffee.
So tell me, are you feeling lucky, punk? Go ahead, make my day.
It's time for Sweet and Sour. Right here on Sweet and Sour. It's time for...
I want the Bulldogs to win.
Spanish.
We're all chatting and we're waiting for the floor manager to bring it together. We're on, are we? Thank you. It's her last night tonight. Kelly's having a good time. And can we say happy birthday to Emily as well? It's her 18th birthday today. One of the volunteers on the... Happy birthday, Em. Here we go. Last letter of the night. Hello, panellists. Can somebody please tell me when it was exactly that we became such an intolerant society? It seems the politics of indignation has won out. We're not allowed to have a vote on gay marriage and put democracy into action because we might offend gay people. We're no longer allowed to call women girls because they'll be offended. We're not allowed to have a joke about dunking Carolyn Wilson because we want to interpret the Eddie incident as something to do with domestic violence. We're offended that now retired Adam Goodes performed a war dance in the Indigenous round of the AFL football. We've become a nation of sooks, with indignation fast becoming our national comfort zone. We're now even offended that charity groups want to sell us fundraising chocolates instead of something healthy like carrots. When did we cease giving people the benefit of the doubt? Is it the left-wing press pushing this silly thought police agenda? What do we need to do to stop us descending into the most negative population on the planet as we are fast becoming? We're pathetic, writes Douglas of Mount Hawthorn in WA. Slim, straight to you first, sir.
Douglas, you've had a tough week, haven't you, mate? You've sat down there late at night. You know, you finished a mediocre television dinner and you thought to yourself, I'm going to write a letter to Gary Mitchell, just venting everything that's possibly coming up in the media. Look, I don't agree. And as far as fundraising chocolates are concerned, they're much more preferable to carrots. I can give you the tip. No, I'm not. I think it's got to a stage that society has become very intolerant. Sure, I do agree with that, which is a shame, really, because really, if everybody got back to basic respect of each other, then we wouldn't have the issues that we have in the world right now. It's as simple as that.
Basics. Return to basics. Stace, what's going on with the Australian society? Are we intolerant?
I actually agree with Slim Jim on this one. I think that Douglas's problem is that he actually wants to just keep offending everyone and he wants to be able to get away with it. Now, there's only one way to do that I can see, and that is probably the best way you can get away with offending everyone is join Pauline Hanson's One Nation party.
You've just offended a lot of people.
And other than that, agreeing with you, Jim, you really have to show a little bit of sensitivity, and I think we'll all be better off for it.
Do you recall something in the press that offended you recently?
Everything. No, a lot of politics. A lot of politics.
A lot of politics offends you?
A lot of goings on in politics.
goings-on.
Decision making in politics, I find it sort of. But it's just personal disagreements. That's all. But in terms of
Does that
offending,
offend you, or do you just disagree?
I disagree, but when I disagree, my sensibilities are offended. So,
All right, Susie, come on.
Well, look, I'd love to disagree and offend you. But I have to say, when I read this, I've really had to read it a few times because I couldn't quite work out what you're saying. Douglas, you're a bit of a weirdo. But I've actually got to the end of it and realised you're just this right-wing anti-guy who's probably sitting in the pub ranting away, oh, I hate gays, I want to be able to vote so gays don't get married, marriage rights. I mean, seriously, do you wear an Australian flag with stubbies drinking a beer down by the river on Australia Day with those little flag things coming off your car and the sticker on the back of your car with a really offensive joke? So look, I think that I agree with Slim, the fact is, if we're just a little bit more respectful and understanding what we're upset about, the Caroline Wilson thing was just appalling, you know. And yes, did it go too far? It was just ridiculous. I mean, women being called girls, it depends. I call women girls, but if someone says it in a demeaning way, it's offensive.
Girls and they're all me.
I know, but I mean, you know, like, so
Come on, girls, get it together.
When we get home after work, we all dress up
it's all in context. It's ridiculous. And Adam Goods was booed. Well, you know, I think the war dance was brilliant, but I think other things also about football.
You think other things as well? Let's hear what Peter's got to say on this one.
Well, I actually think the panel, in some ways, no offence, panel, has proven Douglas's point. the point that Douglas is making is that you're no longer allowed to have a divergent opinion in this country. And there's a group of people in our society who feel as though if they express what they truly believe, they will be howled down, shut down, and possibly even jailed. I don't know where we've got to this point. I've given a couple of speeches in Parliament about this recently. I call it the closing of the Australian mind. We are no longer prepared to accept that the person next to us is allowed to have a different opinion to ours, whether it's about football teams or about political issues of the day, or even about whether you like a particular type of coffee. People will howl you down as either as a snob or one or the other.
But you just have to be offensive.
We need to have...
You're assuming the Australian mind was open.
Well, we need to have a level of respect for divergent opinions,
Yes, I
not
agree.
just opinions that are considered the mainstream or popular at the time. Otherwise, we're on a slippery slope. Douglas, you probably hold a few opinions that offend me, but I'm going to defend your right to be able to hold those opinions.
Pete, tell me, let's go through some of these things that he put here. Plebiscites. I have no issue with the practice of democracy, and I love the opportunity to have a vote. But is the gay marriage plebiscite a bit of a waste of money?
Look, the same people who say it's a bit of a waste of money will tell us that politicians don't stick to their promises. We just had a federal election where one political party went out there and said, you know what, if you elect us to govern, there'll be a plebiscite on gay marriage, and whichever way you want to vote, you can vote on it. Well, do you expect them, the first thing they do, to go back to Parliament and say, sorry, we lied to you? No. This is one situation where politicians are sticking to what they promised. Whether you think it's the right thing or not, they became the government. I think they actually have the opportunity to implement the policy that they told us that they were going to implement.
Exactly right.
I agree with that.
You agree?
I do agree with it, but I don't agree with the fact that then the Liberal Party don't or the coalition don't then have to follow through on the vote of the people.
Oh, I think
That's what I think is wrong. That's the cop-out.
It's a long-standing tradition in the Liberal Party across Australia that every individual Liberal member of Parliament can vote whichever way they want, whenever they want.
But if
I understand
we've
your
spent
point,
millions
and I
of
think there's
dollars on a
sensitivity around it.
plebiscite,
We're going to have to give away the
it's
pair of
just-
limited edition sunnies. Which
sorry.
letter do you like to give away the pair of limited edition sunnies, courtesy of a long tree?
Limited edition sunnies. I think
Number
letter
two.
Number two.
Number two.
Letter number two.
No, Marianne of Doncaster, who has a cross-dressing husband.
Yes.
You like this one as well?
Marianne and the missus.
You had
can
you had such a good bite of the third letter, but you like number two. Where's number two from? Doncaster, Victoria. All right. Coming out to Marianne of Doncaster.
Cost you extra postage.
It does. It does. You know
She
that.
needs the glasses. Right.
We've had a good panel. Will you all come back next week?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. Jim's in.
To come back in 5 minutes, we'll be back in 5 minutes.
All right. 5 minutes next week. Jim, see you next week.
Look forward to it, Gary.
Stace, you have to stay in Perth.
Oh, I'd love to, and Mum will be happy about that. See you, Mum.
Susie, we'll see you next week.
Definitely.
Pete, you might have even more news for us next week
I'll
about
be
what's
here.
happening.
I'll be here. I don't know how much news I'll have, but I'll be here.
All right. Thank all of our wonderful panellists. Thank our terrific crew. Thank you, Kelly. And thank you, Emily. Happy birthday. Where are you? Up in the control room, up there. All right. Happy birthday. We've got to go. Wave, everybody. Good night. See you next week with the same lineup. Can you sit there and you sit there and you... We'll swap it around
swap it
next
around.
week. You know what we do. We muck it around. No, not yet. Say goodbye.
Bye, everybody.
Good night, everyone. See you next week.